Lara Croft is back again. Does she ever really go away? Does Lara Croft ever really leave our thoughts at any given moment?
No, not mine.
Straight in there, Ian, with the philosophical questions. You were ready for that, weren't you?
Oh, hell yeah. No, she doesn't go away, and she's back again. Now, this time, the original games have been remastered in Tomb Raider I-III Remastered. I presume that's how you say it.
I don't think they needed the 1, 2, 3.
It's a counting exercise.
But then maybe you would just be talking about the first one. I don't know.
Yeah, but it is all three of the original games from back in the day, and you now get to play them all on your console of choice.
So I'm interested to know how this works, because for me, one of the lasting memories of playing the original Tomb Raider games is Lara Croft's pointy triangular boobs. Like, how? And obviously, like, the enhanced visuals are the big selling point of doing a remaster of any description. But, like, how have they reconciled the way it used to look with how
I can't believe your first
look now?
question for me about this remastered collection
Don't
is how
tell me that
pointy
wouldn't be a lot
Lara
of people's
Croft's
first
boobs are.
question. Everyone was thinking it. I'm just going to say
That's
it.
fine. Well, you'll be very pleased to know that with the new remastered visuals, Lara Croft's boobs have been smoothed off. They've been rounded out, yes, and they are more boob-like and less likely to take an eye out, which is good.
That's what you want from boobs, really, for them to be more boob-like.
Exactly.
Whatever form that takes.
Although I would risk having an eye out.
I mean, wouldn't we all back in the day?
Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing some people on the internet going, "Did you not really find this Lara Croft attractive?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, kinda." That was the.
I don't think there was much competition,
There
was there?
wasn't,
I mean,
no.
you know.
She was sexier than Dizzy from the ZX Spectrum, let's put it that way. But yeah, the enhanced visuals are definitely the main selling point here. And the way it's done is really good. If you've played a remaster of a retro game recently, it does that thing where you can swap between old school and new school graphics at a touch of a button.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So it starts you off with the remastered graphics, which look really nice. The Lara Croft model is great, and they've thrown in loads of extra details. So you've got extra lighting to the levels. You can see snow falling when you're in the Peru level in the mountains, for instance. Searching through the tomb of Qualapec, you stand still and you can see cold breath coming out of Lara's mouth. So they've added all these extra visual details, and by pressing a button you can just go back to the original old school graphics and play it how I remember playing it back in the day when I played them first time round.
Yeah.
And a lot of my time playing it, I've really enjoyed wandering around in the remastered visuals and occasionally just switching back to the retro visuals and seeing if I remembered it. And it is great for nostalgia. Really, really fun to be able to do that. And what I've really liked to do is wander around like Lara's mansions and other areas of the games and switch between new and old graphics to see how well they've kind of recreated it. So there's
it's really interesting to see how it contrasts, isn't it?
There's like paintings on the walls, and in the original pixely version they're just kind of like pixely blobs, and then you go to the remastered visuals and you can kind of see how they've reimagined it to make them look like actual old school oil paintings. And there's other little like nice touches like skeletons that are lying on the floor. The remastered versions of the old school skeletons lay in the same positions as the original ones do. And it's just they've done a really great job in bringing these graphics into the modern era. What they don't do with the old school graphics is they don't improve the frame rate at all. So if you go between the old school and the new school graphics are nice and smooth, like 60 FPS. You go back to old school and it's like quite juddery and low frame rate, which is in keeping with the original, but I kind of wish that they'd up the frame rate a bit for the old school graphics just so they're a bit smoother to play around with. They still have like the charm and nostalgia to them, which, will make loads of memories reappear. But if you want the smoothest play session, then you're going to want to go with the remastered graphics because they're nice and sharp, and they have a bit of a freer camera as well. The Tomb Raider camera has always been a bit of a nightmare, and it still kind of is, but yeah, with the remastered version, you get a little bit more freedom with the spectator camera.
So remastered visuals are all good and all, but like I think one of the things that people, like fans of the original game, really struggled with were the controls, which were not easy at all to get to grips with, because they were basically tank controls, right? Like trying to maneuver Lara to do all of her acrobatics and flips and all the rest of it was really hard. You were really fighting with the controller more than anything else.
You were.
I'm interested to know how they've updated that. Does the modern control scheme make things easier?
It does, yeah. They have replaced the tank control schemes with a modern control scheme that plays a little bit more like modern games. When I say replace, you can choose between and you can change them on the fly. And it makes things like the swimming sections, which were an absolute nightmare before, it makes them really, really easy to do. They're not... The modern controls aren't really well explained, though, and there was a lot of times when I was getting really angry with them, because when you do Lara's mansion, she gives you a training mission to teach you the controls, and none of the voiceover or anything has been changed. It's all the voiceover from the original, so it only teaches you the controls for the tank controls, and it doesn't teach you how to use the modern controls. So it took me ages to work out how to get out the boat in Venice. You have to press jump button and left or right at the same time to get out. Doing a step backwards really took me ages to work out how to step backwards. You have to hold down the left trigger for the gun and then tap backwards to do a step backwards. It took me a while to get used to, but they're definitely better than the tank controls. They're still kind of frustrating because Lara Croft's adventures often revolve around jumping up tight platforms and doing long dives and things. So there's still a lot of frustration in maneuvering Lara around, but it's not as bad as it used to be. I mean, playing through the Peru mission, for instance, I noticed a couple of areas that I remembered almost like photo-realistic memory of these sections, just because I died so much there when I was young. There's this really early bit where you have to climb up these platforms around a room with a pool of water at the bottom, and the amount of times I fell off there when I was a kid, oh my god, I nearly gave up. And the modern controls make that a little bit easier, but yeah, they still take a little while to pick up, and I think the way they're so badly explained or not explained at all will be an annoyance for some people. In the Venice mission, you have to finish the Venice mission, you have to send a speedboat over some ramps to reach the exit before the clock strikes midday. And you're not told how to drive the boats, you're not told how to boost the boat, which you really need to do to get over the ramps in time. So I just spent like half an hour just retrying that section over and over again, pressing different buttons to try and get it to work. And when they do work, when you know how to do it, they work great. And yeah, more easier than the tank controls, but they could have been explained a lot better to the player, for definite. And I just think that in general, the controls, even with the modern controls, they do kind of show the game's age quite a bit. Even though the joystick controls have been improved slightly, just generally moving Lara around in combat, it can get a bit confusing where you're pointing your guns and stuff, and it just shows the game's age, because we've come a long way since the Tomb Raider games in terms of user experience, I think. And the game even comes with a photo mode, but again, using the photo mode I couldn't find a way in the instructions or in the options to find out how to activate the photo mode. I did it by accident while dying to a trap at one point. You have to click in both of the thumbsticks, and then you get the standard photo mode options, tilt the camera, depth of field, rotate the camera, some poses for Lara, etc. It's nice. It's a nice little addition. Doesn't really add anything to the experience, but you can then do that in old school visuals or new school visuals. So yeah, if you want to use the photo mode, viewers click in both thumbsticks, that'll do it for you.
So would you say that's like the most frustrating thing about the game? Like what are there any other annoyances in there?
There's a few annoyances other than the controls. The save system, for instance, hasn't really been changed at all, so there's no checkpoints. So, I did that stupid thing of forgetting to manually save and then dying and going miles back. It's also... You have to go into the menus to save every time. And I also did that thing which I remember doing when I was younger. Basically, I lost a load of progress because I saved instead of loading or loaded instead of saving because I just want to save really quickly but don't pay attention. Wait, why am I 2 chapters back? No! So don't save over your saves, kids. Always get a new save slot if you can. And one of the things that really, really frustrated me about this game is the camera. The camera in the original was very annoying, but even in the remastered version, there are points where if you stand too close to a wall or you stand in a corner, for instance, the camera can vibrate manically, or it just won't move at all, and it stops you from being able to see where you want to go. Nowadays we're pretty spoiled with cameras. You can spin them around, you can see where you want to go, and you can check out the level layout nice and easily. But in this game, occasionally you'll be trying to do some precarious platforming and the camera will just be like, no, I'm going to show you the sky instead of the platform that's right next to you, which definitely got me aggravated. There was a couple of times when I nearly threw the controller, honestly. And also the game is brutally hard. I think I forgot how brutally hard the game is. Tomb Raider 1 is a bit more gentle compared to the others, but the Great Wall level, the first level in Tomb Raider 2, has this section where it's just trap after trap after trap after trap after trap, and you just insta-die. It's like one of those sections where you have to, learn by dying. But the repetition is a lot, and I think people who are used to autosaves are going to find it quite aggravating. These are all little things that I think after a substantial amount of playtime you'll get used to once you start to learn to save more, and you can kind of work with the camera a bit. I know that when I first started each of the games, because I've played a little bit of each of the 3 now, every time I started it was quite frustrating to get into it, and then once I'd hit my stride I was doing a little bit better.
Question is whether you want to put that much substantial playtime into something that is frustrating, but anyway. But how does it, the reason someone would want to play it so much would be, I would say number one reason would be nostalgia, right? So how does it measure up, and does it bring back fond memories of playing the original game?
It really does. I was having a great time revisiting all these areas that I remember from back in the day, fighting the T-Rex, walking on the Great Wall of China. It's a lovely nostalgic trip, and you get a lot of stuff for your money as well. You don't just get Tomb Raider 1, 2 and 3. You get expansion packs that came with them as well. So you get the Tomb Raider 1 Unfinished Business expansion. You get the Gold Mask expansion for Tomb Raider 2. You get the Lost Artifact expansion for Tomb Raider 3. So it really is like the greatest hits of Lara Croft with all this extra stuff bolted on. So nostalgic fans who want to replay the game or the games again are going to be like... They're going to be sport for choice here. There's so much to do. It's a lot of fun, I just enjoyed wandering around Peru, seeing the old FMV opening scene where her guide gets eaten by the wolves, and then she does that awesome flip off the top of the doorway and shoots the wolves, comes down, puts her red glasses on. Like, all of that is done in the same old school FMV visuals as the original, and I was just like, yeah, I'm back in my teen years playing Lara Croft. This is great.
Do you reckon there is something there for new players, or is it just if someone was coming into it never having played the original games, would they still have a good time, or is it one just for people who want to ride that nostalgia wave?
I think if you'd never played a Tomb Raider game before, or you'd played the modern Tomb Raider games before, and you were like, I really want to check out these original Tomb Raider games that everyone says is classics, I think you'd probably hate it. like the control schemes and the movement, really fiddly, puzzle solving. Like in newer games, you're kind of led by the hand a bit. In Tomb Raider, each level was like kind of like a big puzzle box that was quite obtuse. The solutions weren't really in a way that you'd expect them to be nowadays. So you'd spend a lot of time just wandering around, feeling like you're lost until suddenly something clicks. I think these kind of things will modern players maybe bounce off them a bit. I think the most frustrating thing for newer players will be the controls and the camera, though. It really feels like the game hates you at times. It's trying to work against giving you a smooth gameplay experience. As a piece of nostalgia and a museum piece, I think it's wonderful. And I think people that played the originals and know what to expect in terms of controls and stuff will, like me, get aggravated but have a really good time with it. But newer players, I think, I would be surprised if they were playing on the Switch like I've been doing, throw the Switch out of the window after the first half an hour. Because, it's still, even with the remastered controls, it is still fairly aggravating to play.
All right. Everyone's going to want to know this, so I need to ask. Yeah. Can you still lock the butler in the freezer in the mansion?
I'm glad you asked, because I put that to the test, Aoife. That was one of the first things I did. And in Tomb Raiders 2 and 3, you can lock the butler in the fridge in the originals, in the freezer. So I was like, right, I'm going to go in and test it. So I went into Lara Croft's mansion in Tomb Raider 2. I enticed the butler into the freezer in the remastered graphical settings, and then successfully locked him in.
Does he still have his wee tray?
He does.
Does he still have his wee rattly tray?
Yeah, he has his wee rattly tray, groans and everything, and then I shut him in. So then I swapped to game 3, and then selected Lara's mansion, went back into it, and again the butler was there. I led him back into the freezer, shut him in there again. So yes, you can do that in remastered visuals or in classic visuals. But yeah, he is still lockable in the freezer. So wonderful. Very happy about that.
Okay, so final thoughts.
Yes.
What are your thoughts then? Is it worth buying? Who's it worth buying for?
I think for the older gamers who've played this before and have fond memories of the titles and have no way of playing them now, want to experience them again, whether that be the joys of the puzzle solving, all the frustrations of the controls and the cameras, I think it's worth a buy. I really like it. I've been, despite the fact that there have been times when I've wanted to snap my Switch in half, I have, it's just been a wonderful, nostalgic trip down memory lane. The level design, even though it's quite confusing for newer players, it's just fantastic. You don't get games like it anymore. The sense of discovery and the sense of adventure. I would say that if you've never played Tomb Raider games before and you're tempted by it, I'd say, just bear in mind that you're going to need a good few hours of practice before those controls click and before the frustration goes away. And even then, the aging gameplay will still anger you at points. But yeah, for people like me who just want a museum piece in the pocket and want to relive their Tomb Raider adventures, I'd say it's worth a buy. I've been playing it on the Switch, like I said, and it runs really nicely on the Switch. Runs better in remastered mode, of course, because old nostalgic mode is lower frame rate. But it's coming out on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and Windows. So there's going to be plenty of chances for you to play it. And I'd say it's definitely worth a buy if you're either interested in trying them out for the first time but have a lot of patience, or you just you want to relive your youth.
Your misspent youth, looking at Lara Croft's triangular pointy boobies. Well, there you go. Thank you for telling us all about it. And yeah, it sounds like it is a bit of a one for nostalgia heads, but it is nice to have the option for other people to get into it as well.
It certainly is. And thank you for asking me some questions, Aoife. If you lot enjoyed this video, do give it a like. Subscribe to Eurogamer for plenty more videos about video games. And why not click on some of these other videos that are on screen Unclickable right now. Look at that one up there, Aoife.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's really good. How about that
wow.
one down there? Oh, so
I like
nice.
that
It is
one,
good,
yeah.
isn't it? Oh, you made that one actually. So yeah, it's really good.
I did. Oh, thanks.
Oh, bye.
Bye.